God bless you on this afternoon as I grace your presence this afternoon from center and the chief cornerstone of my whereabouts here in Dallas, Texas. Tonight I would like to brief you on topic why am I here? What is my purpose? I am that I am. I'll be talking to you about Paul, who was in Corinth at this time, and we'll be bringing the word from Corinthians, the 15th, around about the ninth verse. And it states, it said, Paul, he says now, he says, for I am the least of the apostles, that I am not meet to be called an apostle, because I have now persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and this grace, which was now bestowed upon me, was not in vain. But I have labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, yet not I, but the grace of God, which was with me. If I will be able to talk to you today, it will come from a place called I am what I am. Take me as I am. When Paul was talking and making a declaration, he declares now, he says that I am what I am. It becomes now an issue of identity first. And the identity is always influences by of who or what my issues they may be. The issues that have now influenced me. I want you to note to yourself today that all of us have come to a place where we ask this question, who am I? And this question actually, it often comes from where usually the identity, it begins to weigh on us. This normally happens from certain situations. We try operating through life dimensions from a day-to-day base that forces me to ask myself, who am I? Sometimes I wish us as people, us as Christians, us as saints and ain'ts, I wish that we would begin to look at ourselves when everything is going right. We have what we want. We have it when we want it. We have the money, we have the cars, we have the fame, we have the fortune, we have the spouse, the relationship, and all of our heart's desire. But as soon as we face the truth, we face adversities, we face times where things aren't so lovely. We face the times where things begin to take a toxic turn. We face all kind of tranquilities. And things are began to fall and go down by the wayside and become very rough in our life. At this point, there was a question that was asked, who am I? And when I began to examine myself, this concerns me. This don't concern my mama. This don't concern my daddy. This don't concern my children, nor my spouse. This normally deals with me finding out who I really am. So I now try to figure out the question of where do I fit in as an individual? Or maybe in some cases I ask myself, will I ever fit in? Or will I ever be accepted? And what I find out now that in the world today that is facing all kind of changes. In my study, I'm finding out as I evaluate myself and I begin to break myself down. I'm now aware that men are very psychological than physiological. There's another survey that I would like to pose to you all today. The question number 2 that I will ask you today is, why are you here? Because of the reaction to self-identity, I have to forget about everything. I have to forget about people, places, and all of my ambitions. Everything that I want, I have to turn my face to the wall, and I have to get all by myself just to figure out now who I am and why am I here. I find out that when I get by myself and when I don't have nobody and I'm all alone, I find a peace in God. And I begin to find out who I am. When I begin to embrace me, I understand that I don't doubt who I am. Neither do I doubt that I have a purpose in life. For some odd reason, I just don't believe that us as people who are centered in the universe today, neither one of us believe that we are here without a purpose. We may not know, and we may be uncertain of our purpose. We may have all kind of doubts. But any one of us who have been bought with a price, I just don't believe that we are here without purpose. As we look at the consensualness, the consciousness of things, these things normally deal with fears and doubts that we face on an everyday basis. Some of us, we are afraid of taking risks. We're afraid of loving again. We're afraid of giving chance. We're afraid of failing. And it springs up a well of doubt in our everyday walk. And as we began to look at history of our background and what we had to endure that made us the way that we are, some of us, we began to face all kind of trials and doubts because of where we come from. We have not looked at the man in the mirror to identify ourselves. I yet find myself at the age of 38. I'm still dealing now with issues that I had when I was a child. Paul made a declaration. Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child. I did things as a child because I was a child. So I acted like a child would. But as I became older, I come into the understanding of I had to put away the character of being a child. I had to put away foolishness. Some places I used to go, I just had to turn myself away from and do away with folk that I used to deal with if I was going to become a man. So yes, you have to look sometimes at your past because it has now made you who you are today. So as I look at the things that have influenced my life, they have caused me now to be the way that I am. Some of us are going through the motion all because we haven't learned all the way how to let go of past circumstances, situations, hurt, and pain. Yes, and it have caused us to be the way that we are. It have caused us here in life to deal with great struggles. It have caused us to deal with struggles of things that we need to overcome. So we began to look at the inward part of us. And we don't focus on the outward part. We always focus on the part of us that failed. We don't look at the outward and the forward progress and where God is shifting us. I want you to understand today that are watching me today, I'm not based on what happened in my past. I may have failed at some things as I grew up as a child. And even as I find myself, I still deal with struggles in life. But when I understand and I figure out that the existence of Jesus is persuaded and it's the influence of not only dealing with my past, but it's dealing now with my future. It's not about the downward nor the backwards. It's not about where I've been or where I'm at. But it's based now upon the upward and the forward progress, and I'm moving outward out of my comfortability. I understand that I'm not only a creature of my past. My past did not define my character of who I have become. But I now see myself as a creature now of where God is taking me in my future. Remember, there was a man in the passage who said, Lord, I believe in you, but help me to believe when I have unbelief. And he asked a question concerning his son as he looked on the inward. And God said, I need you now not to focus on your inner appearance. I need you not to focus on your flesh, because your flesh will corrupt your mind. Your flesh will fail you at times. So instead of looking at your inner man, I want you to look at the forward progress. If you believe in me, then you understand now that all things are made new. If you believe in me, then you understand that with me all things can become possible if you really believe. The question that I pose to you today is, do you believe? The word that is stimulated called hope is now based upon the upward. You can't focus hope looking downward because it's an upward progress. And it's an upward progress that is driven by the grace of God. It's not on or deal with only your past, but it now deals with your future. Note that Paul was born out of season. He was born out of season of Peter, James, and yes, John. When he made his first declaration out of the text, he said, I am not worthy. Even though I wasn't with Jesus, I spent years in Galilee. Yeah, so my experience was not only to walk with God, but I wanted to have a spiritual encounter with God. Some of us, we want to walk with God and we want God to walk with us, but we fail to have a spiritual encounter. And the reason that he states this now was that I am the least of the apostles is because he goes now into his past and he now persecuted the church. So he is now evaluating himself and he's beating himself down in a backward and a downward evaluation. Some of us can't move forward because we're steady trying to figure out things concerning our past failures. Then he says, I'm not with the saints. I'm not the least one of the saints. He says, I am not the least one of the saints. So finally now he encountered and he declares to Timothy, he said, I am the chiefest of sinners. And all that come from Paul, and all this came from Paul looking backwards. But he understood, he said, I am the chiefest of sinners. I have fallen short. I've persecuted the church. I've done so many things and I'm not worthy of this position. Some of us feel that we're not worthy of the position that we're in. So the question is, was he becoming less than what he really was? Or was he getting closer to God the lesser he thought about himself? Because now that he's not concerned about himself, he's more concerned about where God is taking him. He understands now that he is getting a revolutionary experience and a relationship. He now has a relationship with God, and he now has to think less of himself. Yes, you can compare yourself with others, but when you begin to compare yourself with God, you understand that it has a way of rescuing you and how you feel about the significance. As I get closer now, the importance of identity is that in the time where we are, we face the identity and the crisis. Because in past time things we predicted our positions on have now been uprooted. And it has produced an identity crisis. Then other times what we used to bank on and stand on, the foundation now has been shifting. You may have taught your kids certain things, and you may have banked on certain things and stood on certain principles, and you gave certain patterns and all of these things in life. And it gave your children now a sense of security. And we teach them, but the truth about this is that something now in society is changing because the whole moral now and the base is shifting on what used to be. And what used to be solid, you used to depend on these things, and now we're in a time, in a way, where it has caused us to wonder who we are. We used to think of the United States of America as being a beloved country, and now we see that there is a rise in hatred. There is a rise in police brutality. There is a rise in poverty and segregation. There is a rise in democracy and modern day slavery. And now what it has caused us is to ask ourselves, where are we in the scene of things as the world changes? Find now that we suffer under a problem of what or who we should believe in. And the reason is because we are shifting so fast. We have moved from depending on truth, and now we don't know who to trust. Now we deal with the alternative things called the alternative truth. And this leads us all the way down to doubting one another. We don't know who is telling us the truth today. And we don't know which way to go. So now we define ourselves in a shifting atmosphere and a society now that is shifting when they don't know what the truth really is. Lord, help me. We don't know which way to go. We don't know who to trust. And we're living in fear and doubt. I need somebody now that understands that my foundation now can't be shaky. I can't deal with a foundation that seems like an earthquake that's always shaking. But I have to find out now who I am in the midst of things, because now I have to evaluate myself and set myself up with some principle and standards. I find out in finding myself, I got to let some situations around me go sometimes. Find out in finding myself, I got to hurt sometimes. And I got to do without sometimes. I find myself now in this situation, whereas I feel lonely at times. And I feel like nobody understands me. I can't call on nobody because nobody will answer my call. I can't go to my best friend because my best friend got issues that are going on. Can't call mama because mama got things going on. And now I'm stuck in the position of a rock in a hardship, trying to find my way home, trying to find a peace of mind. But I heard God said, I heard him when he said, I'll give you rest. Say yes here, somebody. I'll give you peace that surpasses all of the things that you just don't understand. You don't understand what's going on, but I'm going to take you to a place, a land that's flowing now with milk and honey. And when I do what I do and how I do what I do, I'm going to do some things that you never even expected me to do. I'm going to bless you out of the mess that you were in last year. You going to look back and you ain't even going to see it no more. You going to look back and it ain't going to bother you no more. You going to begin to give me something and I'm going to begin to elevate you. When you begin to humble yourself, the problem nowadays is that people don't know how to humble themselves. Everybody want to be put up on a pedestal. Everybody want to have the fine homes and fancy cars. Everybody want to have all of these things, but they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to go without some things. But baby, it's all right not to have the things that you desire, because what God's plan for you is to give you what he has and designed for you. So when you come now to this place of finding out who I am, I understand that now greater is he that now is in me than he now that's in the world. The Bible decreed that I have not because I ask not. A lot of us want things, but we're afraid of action. And then when God give us it, we don't know how to accept it nor appreciate it. We turn a deaf ear to it. We turn cold to it. And we don't know how to embrace it. But I want to stop by to tell somebody, I feel like preaching today. You got to come to a place. You got to come to a place. You got to come to a place where you evaluate yourself. You evaluate, do you love yourself? You got to evaluate, where is God taking me? You got to evaluate yourself to say, God, I know I'm lonely right now, but God, I ain't going to be lonely all my life. God, I know they don't accept me right now, God, but I know you told me that if you be for me, then you're more than the whole world against me. Oh, my God, help me now, Jesus. I feel some help here now. I feel like preaching, but I'm going to let you all go today. You all that up under the sound of my voice understand that where you are now in this season don't mean that you're going to be there always. What you have right now is just a few things, but God said, be faithful of the few things, and I'll multiply and give you many things. So he said, don't despise the small beginning. Don't despise a person just because they don't have what you feel like they should have, or they're in a position that you feel like they shouldn't be in, but just continue to pray for them, continue to love them, because love and kindness shall draw you. I'm yours truly, the prodigal son. I bless you today. Find out who you are. Get in the secret place.